Hey everyone, I'm going to show you how to paint your upholstery fabric with Annie Sloan chalk paint. It's really fun, really easy way to transform a piece that the upholstery is in good shape still for, but it's kind of ugly. This is the biggest piece I've ever done in painting fabric, so we're going to kind of learn along together and see what we can do. In my supplies here, the paint color I'm going to use is like a 50-50 mix of Amsterdam green and Napoleonic blue, and it makes kind of like a rich, beautiful dark teal. And then I have a squirt bottle here full of just water with a really fine mist to it, and my big flat Annie Sloan brush. And so basically what we're going to do is that you want to have the fabric pretty wet to work the paint in, because we don't want to put a layer of paint on top of it. We want the paint to soak in and actually dye the fibers. So let me see if I can get you a closer look. Okay, so now here's a closer look of the cushion that we're gonna work on. Before I started, I vacuumed everything really well and got as much dirt out of everything as I could. And I wanted to show you the close-up now of the paint color. That's a 50-50 of Amsterdam green and Napoleonic blue. And I'm going to add a good chunk of water to that. We want it pretty liquidy. Let me stir it up for you. I mean, we're looking at a pretty thin liquid. Again, we're wanting to more think about dyeing the fabric, not so much painting the fabric. And it's gonna take lots of layers. That's okay though. And I'm hoping with this one, I'm gonna make kind of a crazy couch. It's gonna be for my front window. I'm gonna make kind of a molted look. So I'm not so concerned of a solid color all over. So we had to kind of have that there in the end, and it's, I mean, it's pretty drippy. It's like the consistency of maybe milk? Skim milk, probably. Okay, so first you need to wet the fabric. I have a spray bottle here with a really, really fine mist to it. So I'm gonna work on this section so you can see. You can see I'm adding quite a bit of water. And of course I would do the whole area, so it's pretty damp there. I'm gonna take my big Annie Sloan brush and kind of dip it in here, and then just sort of lightly go over everything. You can see how it's starting to soak in there. And already it's looking better, or at least less old lady-like. Now, if you were doing yours, I would suggest taking the cushions off the whole thing first and taking it apart as much as you can. So now I'm gonna go along and finish this and keep a spray in the water and get one coat over the whole thing. Sometimes, you know, you might have to, you can tell if you might have to work it in like that. Again, you're not trying to make it lay on top. You're supposed to, you're dyeing it. Okay, so I've put one light coat on this side, and I have a couple things to note for you. Do it somewhere where it can get messy. It is a lot of water, a lot of drip, and a lot of paint. And like how I'm going to turn around and paint this wood detail right here, I would do that second, because I covered that with water and paint, and like where it's down here, it's dripped on this, and I've come back and wiped it on a rag, which comes to my next point. Have a good rag that you can get dirty with you. And I'm going to show you the next one that works really well for me. So, and you're going along, and you get this area soaking wet, work your paint from top to bottom because it will run down. See, and I have this much water on it to where it's running and dripping. It might be a bit of an overkill, but it's working, so I'm not gonna change. And so, I need to mix up some more. Okay, so I got some good milk again. And I'm gonna show you what I mean by how it runs. So if I dip my brush really good in there and it's pretty wet, you can see how it's kind of gonna go down and drip further down. So it just works better if you go from top to bottom. And sometimes it drips more if I had more water on it even than that, like I did in some areas. But this way, here, like I'll do her again here. So if this is really wet still right there, I put my brush there. See how it's running down there? So then you can go back and kind of just smooth all that excess out. And like I said before, you can rub it around with your gloves if you need, if that can help. All right, back to work. Okay, we're back and I have finished one full, very, very watered down coat of my mix of Annie Sloan chalk paint together. Again, it was an Amsterdam green and Napoleonic blue with a whole bunch of water. And you can see here, we're gonna get a little closer, where like right here is not nearly as bright as there, or I should say as dark, because I remade the water mixture and I must have put more paint in there. So if you're really, really picky, beware of that. Now it might even out as I go. Right here I accidentally dumped my bucket of paint, and water mix, so that's what that's from. We're gonna see. That's a fun experiment here. You can also see that the lady I bought this from attempted to paint it before me, and she got some little splotches of paint, so you can see where this little white spot is right there. I have sanded that like crazy. I cannot get that off. I think it's cured hard on there. And she also did it on the cushion. So they've kind of are being dyed, but they're a little bit odd right now. So I'm seeing what I can do there. Here's a really good spot of the edge to see really how the color is just dyeing in there, and it's not dyeing the silk of the flowers or the silk thread of the flowers. So, you know, test a little spot before you do a whole thing to see if really you like what's happening. I do. So here's the whole one coat on there, watered down, dried, and very, very, very lightly sanded with a high grit sandpaper, just because I'm supposed to. I don't think it really needed it because I had so much water in it. You can see this corner here I started the second coat on it, so you can see what's happening already. Now, I'm pretty sure that my dye mixture is just a lot stronger here today, which is just fine. It's still soaking in wonderfully. I'm not gonna get it as soaking wet when I'm doing the second coat. I'm still gonna get it slightly wet and then go along and keep painting. So next time you see it, it'll have a full second coat on it. All right, I'm back and I finished the second coat on this big guy. I can really love how it's shaping up. Couple things to note. Tufting is hard to paint in there. It takes some patience, so you have to really work and get in there. And that you can see my little white spot didn't really cover up any better than that, so I'm gonna have some troubles there. Otherwise, a couple other things I learned from this round to note, like let's say you're working on the arm. I have a really, really watered down paint, so I start from like up here and let it kind of run down. And that's, I work from top to bottom. Sorry, I was probably making you dizzy. The whole time. So then it, like, you know, nature does its thing and it just pulls the water down in the paint. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a big old mess somewhere. So, still have to wait now for this guy to dry overnight. Then I'll come back and put a third coat on tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to sand, even though that is what we are supposed to do. So I'll see it in the morning. But you see kind of how it bunged up the fabric there? I'm worried that it's going to rip all the little stitches out of the upholstery. So I'm going to see in the morning if I'm going to sand or not. So wish me luck. Here's the couch with the third coat of paint on it, and it's going to be my final coat on the fabric. It still never dyed the silk threads that are in there, which turned out kind of cool, but if you were hoping for them to be dyed, it definitely would have been an issue. And it covered up a couple little spots odd that I tried to hide where someone else had painted still. So those didn't really blend wonderfully in, so be aware of that. Otherwise, I didn't sand because it was kind of odd on the fabric texture. I didn't like what it was doing to it. So it does feel a bit hard. But I think every fabric is going to be different. So I think everyone's going to be a little bit of an experiment. So now I'm going to paint the wood around the wood with a mix of 2 parts old white with 1 part emperor silk, and it's got 1 coat on it. I'm back again, and I have done a faux painting technique here on the edges where I kind of mixed the emperor silk and the old white together in kind of a random pattern, and now I have clear waxed all of this space. And then up here is going to be the finished. It also has dark wax on it and then gold gilding wax. So that's going to be what all of the pink around will look like when I finish. This big beauty is finally done. Ignore the netting draped on there. I'm working on a project with it now for the front window, but let me show you close up what we have. Of course, all painted with Annie Sloan chalk paint. You can see how you can still see the threads and fibers, but it's still very smooth. It definitely feels like fabric. And then here's the detail of the arms painted in lots of crazy pinks and gold and dark wax. I think she turned out pretty fun and pretty crazy. It's like a Barbie dream house couch. Anyway, just wanted to show you guys the before and after of this crazy old couch to Barbie dream house couch. Thanks.